I'm going to show you how to make this key that every now and then twists to tell you that it's movable, is able to be dragged over, it rotates, and when it enters the lock, it triggers something. Going to the next page in my case. So here we go. First of all, I've made a group here because this made a little bit of the responsive fit work a little bit better on different devices of different sizes. So it's a group, and I'll go into the group, and first of all we have a scroll bar. This scroll bar only will go horizontal. I've turned it to yes on horizontal, vertical no, so that the user can only move it backwards and forwards. But what we want to do is make this key rotated sideways once it gets close to this side so that it can go into the lock. So how we do that is we have triggers that will tell the multi-state object to move to its new state when we hit different locations on the scroll bar. So now I'll show you the multi-state item. First of all, we have the key being upright. That's our first state. Our second state is our key being horizontal. And then our third state is one where it's twisted slightly so that we can tell it to every now and then give a little twist and go back to vertical. We have these markers, which is created by clicking a plus sign inside of your scrollable object. And then you have actions over here that get triggered when you hit each of these different markers on the scroll bar. So I'll show you where those markers are. When I click the second one, it'll move a little bit. So that's the marker that marks this place in our scroll bar. Then we have the start marker, which is there. Here again is the moved a little to the right and then all the way to the right. That's because we want it to, we can tell it to start there, but then when it moves a little to the right, we want to trigger it to move to the new state in the multi-state item. So we have pushed plus here, and then we get to choose one of these locations. And when we choose one of them, moved a little to the right, we tell it to interact with a component. That component, we can say this multi-state item, and then you select the state that you want it to go to. So I'm going to X out of this because I've already gotten it here. So when it's moved a little to the right, it'll go to the key pointing to the right. And then if you drag it back to its original state, the key will go to its upright state. That also will help, or when it starts at the far left, it will know to be in its upright state. Let's try it out. So here you can see, I want to point out first of all that every now and then I've told it to rotate a little bit. So let's move it over. When I pull towards it, it'll start to go and then it'll fit in. And then I've triggered it to do some actions when it goes into the keyhole. Okay, so I've just showed you how to make the key turn when you drag it at different states in the scroll bar. Now let's tell it to trigger things during different actions. First of all, we want to trigger to go to the next page when it goes all the way over to that location in the scroll bar. So all the way in is that location in the scroll bar. So all the way in over here, what I've done is I've clicked position, I've chosen the position all the way, and then I can choose change screen. And I get to select the screen, which in my case will be the next one down. It goes to the next screen. And then you can say how long it'll take to delay it, but in my case I want it to go directly there. Since I've already done it, I'm going to X out of that. And that explains how when dragging the key over into the keyhole, when it hits that spot on the scroll bar, it will trigger that action. I've also included a conditional action that if they've selected this guide me, it will start an automated voiceover to guide them. Now I want to show you how to make it tilt every now and then. So if we go into our multi-state item, so that's inside of our scroll bar, now inside the multi-state item, we have the states programmed to trigger things. When it shows its initial state, which is most of the time, especially when it's untouched, you can tell it to start counting 3.5 seconds, and when 3.5 seconds happens, it goes to the state slightly turned from upright, which is this state. So basically, as soon as it is upright, it starts counting 3.5 seconds until it tells it to go to slightly turn to the right. When it hits that state, you can tell it to start to go back to key upright state, and that happens over 0.4 seconds. So what that looks like is this. Now we're watching, 3.5 seconds later, it'll go like that.